Hey, everybody. Welcome to The Healing Source. This is Paul Fletcher, your host, and this is actually series number 2 and podcast number 2. In series number 1, we focused on Tao healing for the physical body. And now in series number 2, we are focusing on the emotions and the emotional body. Now, if you are new and this is the first time you're listening, then make sure you subscribe. And also, you can go back to the previous podcasts. These are also recorded live onto Facebook and YouTube under Wellspring of Light. So you can find my information that way as well. Thank you to all those that are joining me live. I'm very grateful for you being present with me. And if you hit that like and share on the live event that you're watching through, then others will pay attention and receive value from this wisdom and teachings as well. So again, briefly, for those that are new, just stumbled across me, I am a certified master teacher of the Tao Academy, trained under Dr. and Master Zhigang Sha, one of the world's most renowned healers on the planet today. I have done what I'm doing now for quite a while with a great deal of success. What is it that I am doing? Tao healing. Tao healing is source healing. Tao is a word that means source. Source healing simply means that the frequency and vibration that you and I originate from is still available to us. And those, like myself, who have received specific healing authorities and transmissions, we are able to activate those healing authorities and transmissions and utilize them to help somebody else recover from what can be very unpleasant experiences. Now, last week I set the foundation for what is some of the root causes of emotions, and I'll give a brief reminder of that today. The foundation of all suffering and all success, according to the ancient wisdom, is rooted in the mistakes that we and our ancestors have made, or the benefits to others that we and our ancestors have offered. In other words, if we have positive thoughts, words, and actions, if our ancestors do good, pleasant, wonderful things, or have good thoughts or good words for others, then that remains in their personal frequency and vibration. That then gets transferred to you through the ancestral tree, so to speak. In reverse, any negative thoughts, words, or actions that you or they produce upon others, that also remains in your vibrational field and can contribute to negative or unpleasant things that you might be experiencing in your life. Now, this is called the universal law of cause and effect. And this is not even something that is questionable. It is simply a universal law. Since this universal law clearly explains the root cause of success and suffering, then all we need to figure out is, how can I have more of what I want, more of the success, and less of the suffering? And this is what this entire podcast is about. So as indicated in this series, we're focusing on emotions. Emotions are vibrations in our body. They don't just come there accidentally. They arrive because we have had both positive and or negative thoughts, words, and actions in this lifetime, in other lifetimes, our own and those of our ancestors. So pause for a minute. Have you ever just felt kind of depressed and kind of lethargic and really not very good? Just for no particular reason, it just come over you and then it hangs in there for 3 or 4 days, right? Raise your hand if you've had that kind of an experience. You will discover that a lot of people do. How did that happen? Well, this wisdom, Tao wisdom, would say that in this or a previous lifetime, we maybe made some mistakes, could have caused that kind of an experience upon others. So let's give an example. Let's say that you just have a negative thought. Oh, that person, I just don't like them. They're too fat. They're too ugly. They're too this or too that, whatever. That frequency and vibration stays in your field and it impacts their field. And it could create depression in them, even though it was just a thought. We went into some details on this last week, so go back and watch that. I'm not going to regurgitate that today. But I want you to know that's the root, and that's how these positive or negative vibrations end up in our field. Now, when I trained with my spiritual teacher, Dr. and Master Shah, I came to understand that he was very educated in many ways, including traditional Chinese medicine. And I am by no stretch of the imagination well versed in TCM medicine, but I can share very clearly what I have learned. And we have been taught as a healer that if we incorporate into our reflection the information that is shared with us from the client, including TCM approach to the 5 elements, then we can be better at offering the most positive healing frequency and vibration to that individual. So what is the 5 elements? TCM means traditional Chinese medicine. The 5 elements are wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. Now, these elements were not founded or created by this form of healing modality. They have been acknowledged by the most ancient of traditions, going as far back in time as you can imagine, as a foundational universal law. So now, today, I have revealed 2 universal laws. The universal law of cause and effect, which brings about your failures and your successes. And there's a second law now, the universal law of 5 elements. And this law states that the 5 elements are in everyone and everything. So it's in the moon dust, it's in the stars, planets, galaxies, and universes, and it's in you and me. Now, specific to our health and wellness and our emotions, each of these 5 elements have categories and qualities that help the practitioner who practices in that art to identify the root cause at the organ or system level, or in terms of qi, which is what a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner works with. They work with the movement of qi. It helps them to identify what might be causing a person's fear or anxiety, etc. So the wood element has a direct association with the liver. And the liver, as far as the emotional characteristic in the wood element, is anger. Raise your hand if you have anger or anger issues, right? Most of us do. And these anger issues can sometimes just flare up out of nowhere. You ever had that happen? The ancient wisdom says that you have negative information in your vibration, in your field, and it has kind of glommed on to this wood element part of your energy, which is affecting your liver. And some people have liver issues and they have anger as a result. Some people drink too much and they have liver issues and they're also angry as a result. So there's an interconnectivity. The wood element even includes the eyes, but we're not going to go there at this moment. There's many characteristics of that element. We're sticking with the emotions right now. Let's go to the next one, fire element. The fire element is associated with the major organ, the heart, and it has, in terms of the emotions, if our fire element is out of balance, it can affect the imbalanced emotion of depression or anxiety, and sometimes it can even show up as overjoy. Like somebody's like, oh my God, that's so exciting. But that kind of overjoy is actually an imbalanced emotion. So again, if a practitioner, either of a Tao healing or TCM, is connecting to a person to identify what is going on for them, then they can discern that if what is revealed is depression or anxiety, for example, they can add to that, this is a fire element imbalance. The next one is earth. So the 5 in a row, again, are wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. So let's talk about the earth element. Its major organ is the spleen. And the spleen in TCM is in charge of digestion. But in terms of the emotion, it has a direct association to the unbalanced emotion of worry. There's a lot of people I know, they worry all the time. Worry all the time. But you've checked with them and you'll discover that they often, not always, but often have digestive issues. Isn't this interesting? In the West, the Western approach to medicine, it has its levels of efficacy, it has its ups and its downs, but they do not acknowledge these kinds of things. This is very unique to the Eastern philosophies and Eastern medicine approaches. So worry, if that sounds like you, then you want to bring balance to your earth element. Let's talk about the fourth of these 5 major elements, the metal element. Now the metal element is connected to the lungs, okay? So if you've had breathing issues, some or parts of your life, then you probably have a weakness in your metal element. And the metal element, in terms of the connected emotion, is grief and sadness. So connect. Have you had somebody important in your life, an animal or a person, leave? Do you have grief or sadness? You don't know why, or you do know why, but you just can't seem to release it, right? Then this stays in our vibration, and it can and does impact our lungs. On a side note, the paired organ for the metal element, the lungs, is the large intestine. So this again goes to digestion. So some people, they'll have digestive issues and grief and sadness connectivity. Again, this is how a Tao practitioner would look at it. This is how a TCM doctor would look at it. They would take this into consideration before they offer Tao healing. The 5th of the 5 elements is water. What are you made of? When we're born, we're 90% water, right? And the water element is arguably one of the most important elements in the human body because there's so much of it in us. I can go down, I could talk for hours on this, but to try to encapsulate just a little bit here, the water element and the imbalanced emotion is fear. Fear. And what's the opposite of fear? Courage. There's a couple different opposites, right? Calm, right? Calmness. And so one of my students, one of my clients, I do healing on her, and she's just one of my students. Right now she's going through huge fear. And her bones and her teeth are falling apart. Her kidneys are very weak. Well, according to traditional Chinese medicine, the water element is connected to the kidneys, urinary bladder, bones, sense of hearing, fear. How strange is that, right? So we want to pause and give credit to the Eastern approach to medicine. They see the interconnectivity of the human being. And in the Western approach, it's, nope, I'm a liver doctor and I don't touch the kidneys, and nope, I'm a heart doctor and I don't care that it's the heart is connected to the fire element. I don't care that the water and fire need to be in balance. But see, in the TCM approach, all of this is very important. We are one whole. So when it comes to balancing our emotions, we want to be cognizant of these 5 elements. Water, to finish up on that, Dr. Emoto, who has since transitioned, spent 20 to 30 years proving that water carries an energetic signature. If you infuse into water the energy of love, it holds that energy, frequency, and vibration. Same thing with anything unpleasant. He has been able to prove that visually by freezing ice crystals. It blesses the water with love, blesses the water with hate. I don't know if it's a blessing, but infuses it with the word hate. Literally put the word hate right on the glass. Put the word love right on the glass. And then he froze those crystals. And then he took a photo of those crystals. Clearly there was a difference. And this was repeated again and again and again countless times. Master Sha, my teacher, even worked with him and transmitted power to a little beacon of water in Japan, 10,000 miles away, and he was able to measure that transformed the water as well. So when we're talking about the water element and the emotion of fear, you might want to pay attention. How then do we work with this knowledge? How can Tao healing be used to help transform our blockages? How can we use Tao healing with this understanding of emotions? The first thing is to know that these emotions didn't just come into our field haphazardly. If you pay attention, you will actually notice when your frequency and your vibration is being negatively impacted. For example, I'll use myself. Yesterday morning, I clicked through on a website that had some unpleasant information. Now, I'd already read it, I'd already seen it. It was too late. I can't reverse that, right? I could have not gone there. I chose to go there. And instantly I felt negativity in my field. I mean, I went from a positive state to a negative state. It was quite clear. And I told myself, Paul, you need to be smarter than that. You can't just take yourself to that kind of a place and not expect it to have an effect on your frequency and vibration. So we, you and I, need to be cognizant that both positive and negative information from inside us and from outside of us can affect us. Additionally, we want to be cognizant that this positive and negative information has come to us prior to incarnation. It was on our field as a soul, because as a soul, we carry both the positive and negative thoughts, words, and actions from this lifetime and all lifetimes. That was on our soul before we came in. And then we go through life with our mom, our dad, our belief systems, our schools, our brothers, our sisters, and all of those people that contribute to our frequency and vibration. And when we're young, we don't really have a lot of control over that contribution, do we? We're kind of sponges, and we can get beat up a lot by some of the positive or negative information that comes into our field from the outside of us, right? So we have our own stuff we come in with, and then we have more kind of bombarding us, and we hope it's good, but for some of us it wasn't so wonderful. And then, right around the age of 18, 19, 20, we start waking up and start redefining ourselves, try to power through life with all of the messed up stuff that we might have received, right? So a lot of us got pretty nailed by some of those unpleasant thoughts, words, or actions that were coming from our parents, our peers, our belief systems. And then the next 20 years, we go about trying to fix and heal ourselves so that we can be loving, kind, and beneficial to ourselves and to others. So right around the age 40 or so, most of us realize, okay, it's not really my mom and dad's fault. It's not really the church's fault or the belief system's fault. Now, some of us really like to point the fingers outside of us. It's their fault. It's their fault. Those that are still pointing outside of yourselves, you really need to pay attention to the teachings that I'm offering you. And go get the free course I offer on Heal Your Soul, Heal Your Life at my website, Wellspring of Light. Anyway, but most of us around the age of 40, we realize, okay, my parents are a product of their parents. And so if my dad was an angry person and was just constantly angry, then I grew up in an angry household. That doesn't mean I have to duplicate that, but sometimes it flies out of our mouth anyway, right? We don't want to be like that parent that was that way, but sometimes it just flies out. Why? Because it was in our vibration. So you and I, if we truly want to heal then we want to be responsible for what is already in our vibration and what we allow into our vibration. Both. Very, very important. Dr. and Master Sha brought different forms of Tao healing to us so that we could transform what's already in our vibration. And then that allows us to make better choices of what we allow into our vibration from the outside. We have to kind of scoop out the crud that's in our field already, right? We need tools for that. I'll provide that to you. And then we have to be cognizant to not allow more of that crud into our field. This is how you get happier and healthier with emotions. So let's just take anger and depression as examples. Okay, those are two pretty predominant emotions in society. How do we use Tao healing to help transform those? Very simple. We recognize, number one, that it's on my field because either A, I created this same unpleasant emotion upon others, B, my ancestors may have, and typically it's both of us, by the way. It's never just one or the other. Almost always it's a 50-50. But we've both probably harmed others in our thoughts, words, or actions that brought that same emotion upon them. That's the first step. Now, when we get that, then we can move to the next ones, which is, okay, how do I transform that negative to positive? Very simply, you add as much positive frequency and vibration you can to offset the negative. Imagine you had in your hand the world's biggest negative energy eraser, and you just started, you grab it and you just started, just like when you were a kid in school, start erasing that negativity. Wouldn't that be great? That's what Tao healing does. Tao healing is the Tao healers themselves, or the light balls they use, or the crown chakra blessings that a Tao healer offers, or the Tao calligraphy that holds the most positive pure frequency and vibration within, the mantras, the chanting, the forgiveness practice. Each of these forms of delivery of positive information are all erasers of negative information. So Tao healing, very simply, is a conduit through which the most pure positive frequency and vibration can come to you, either through your own actions or through the actions of a practitioner, so that you can then start erasing the negativity on your vibrational field. So for example, if you were in my membership program, every day I, as a 15-year certified master teacher and healer, have very high healing authorities, which means I have very high positive frequency and vibration that can assist you to wash away the negative much faster than you could on your own. So in my membership program, I do healing for my clients every day, or they join the daily practice, half hour every day, and then they bathe in that field. Literally, they bring their body into a very high frequency field, and then that starts erasing, washing away the negativity. Now, when they're not in those kinds of fields on their own, they might open up one of Master Sha's books that has a Tao calligraphy in it. And I've touched on Tao calligraphy in the previous courses, in the previous podcasts, excuse me. And in essence, it acts as a portal that every time I connect from my heart and I follow the form of the art, trace it, if you will, then that love, light, frequency, and vibration comes to me, or the person that's whoever is tracing that calligraphy, and that then starts erasing the negativity on the field. Okay? So another way I briefly mentioned is called the forgiveness practice. We're actually going to spend an entire next week on forgiveness practice just for emotions. I'm going to do a very healthy and beneficial forgiveness practice. So I invite you to come next week. And forgiveness practice is very powerful. And as I said, once we stop pointing fingers outside of us saying, you caused this anger, you caused this depression, you caused this anxiety, you caused this grief. That's all pointing the finger outside of ourselves. That is not acknowledging that that frequency and vibration was on our field, or we allowed it to come into our field. one of the two, right? So when we do forgiveness, we can forgive ourselves for accepting that negativity. We can do forgiveness for any guilt that we've held on to. We can do forgiveness for lack of self-love, for looking outside of us, expecting to get validation from mom, dad, or somebody else to fulfill our love. We can forgive ourselves for not aligning more to the source, fulfilling our love that way. We can ask forgiveness for having caused depression or anger upon others on behalf of ourselves or our ancestors, right? So when we ask for forgiveness, that's a form of an eraser, because many souls may have been harmed. Many hundreds of thousands of souls may have been harmed by greed or corrupt choices. If you or your ancestors were greedy or corrupt, for example, and then that husband lost his job, and then that family lost their house, and then they had to survive on the streets. Maybe one of the children didn't make it. Do you think that might brought them depression or anxiety or fear or worry? You see, we don't know what we and our ancestors may have done because of something like being corrupt or greedy. So when we do forgiveness, it's very powerful. It can have a profound effect on the release of the negative information that's in our field, which then shows up in our life like feeling much better. And this is the root of the wisdom that Dr. and Master Sha has brought to us. As one of his certified teachers, in this podcast series, I am teaching you how you can utilize Tao healing and Tao healing methods to transform these emotional blockages in your life. So I encourage you to, subscribe, like, and follow any of my social media. Come to my website, Wellspring of Light, and learn more. Take advantage of the free course that I offer there, and tell your friends. And if you need services, let me know. I'm happy to serve you. But I will be back here next week. Now, the week after that, I will be looking for one or two, maybe even 3 people to do healing demonstrations with. So if you have an overwhelming negative emotion that you would like to be considered as a demonstration as a guest, that means you need to come on live, okay, be on camera, then let me know. And I will see if I can have you on live as one of my demonstration guests, and you can receive some free healing for a major emotional imbalance. All right? So until next week, I want to offer you my deepest love, my deepest gratitude, and my appreciation for your presence and letting other people know about this Tao healing wisdom. I'm pretty sure a few people can benefit from this if they know about it. So make sure you share it. Okay? So I will see you all next week. Until then, have an awesome day. Bye-bye, everyone.